Hello there. What you've just seen now, I'm talking about the first time now to a show like this now, has been the close of trading for the day. Over there at the Nigeria Stock Exchange, we see Oscar Onyema, of course, heading the NSE at this time now, being given the honors to close trading for the day. The first day, so to speak now, in the year 2018. Of course, businesses and many people have since resumed work today, the second day of January 2018. It's also our own way of saying welcome to Business Nigeria. I am Kemi Foladiemo. Well, top in the world of business at this time now is President Muhammadu Buhari, who will commission the Kaduna Inland Dry Port in Kakure, Kaduna State. This on Thursday. A dry port is an inland intermodal terminal directly connected by road, rail and air to a seaport and operates as a center for transshipment of sea cargo to inland destinations. Director Special Duties of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Ignatius Nweke, said the port, which is among the 7 dry ports being promoted by the council, was built, I should say, by the Kaduna Inland Dry Port Limited, with the capacity to handle 29,000 tons of cargoes yearly. It's also estimated to generate no fewer than 5,000 direct employment at the commencement of operations. And Nigeria earned 397 billion naira from the export of liquefied natural gas and liquefied petroleum gas, also known as cooking gas, in the third quarter of 2017. Data obtained from the National Bureau of Statistics also revealed that the country exported LNG valued at 386 billion naira, while cooking gas exports stood at 12 billion. In the third quarter, Nigeria exported most products to Europe with an export value of more than 1 trillion naira. And then there is Asia, which exports recorded 1.1 trillion. And then in the U.S., exports of Nigeria, of course, now recorded 827 billion naira. The value of exports to neighboring African countries also stood at more than 300 billion naira. Well, let's talk about all the major events that shaped the year 2017 and attempt a review. At the beginning of last year, the World Bank projected the Nigerian economy to grow by 1.0% following the carryover of the sub-zero real gross domestic product growth. That's about minus 1.7%, which was the rate from the 2016 recession. Well, the most important policy challenge for the federal government was to take the country out of recession within the year. And this was at a time when the naira traded at 490 against the US dollar at the parallel market, up from about 516 naira per dollar in the fourth quarter. And then the federal government 2017 Appropriation Act tagged budget of recovery and growth. This was for the total expenditure of 7 trillion naira, projected at $42.5 per barrel crude oil price benchmark, as well as a 2.5% GDP growth rate forecast. And the foreign exchange rate of 305 naira to the dollar, as well as 2.2 million barrels per day crude oil output. And then there was the external reserve, which had plummeted to $26.4 billion, while inflation rate in the first quarter of last year reached 18.72%, the highest since 2005. In the volatile oil and gas sector, the Organization of Petroleum exporting countries and some non-oil producing nations led by Russia agreed to a country-by-country quota cut amounting to 1.2 million barrels per day shortfall to shore up the global price of petrol. And this excluded Nigeria, which was already producing at 1.5 million barrels per day. All right, now, but to the non-oil sector, which unfortunately didn't perform as expected last year. Nigeria exited recession in the second quarter of the year with 0.56% GDP growth rate, which was later revised to 0.72%. And according to the data released by the NBS, real GDP grew by 1.40% in the third quarter of the year, while non-oil growth was recorded in the second quarter of the year at 0.45%, but this will later shrink to minus 0.76% in the third quarter of the year. This and now, so many figures now to chew upon in the new year to tell you that indeed the country has come a long way when you look at how all these figures reverberated on the economy. So let's bring in the two analysts for this hour. Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, that's Muda Yusuf, who joins us via Skype. And we also have this time from Abuja an economist, Aliu Audu. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining us this time, and Happy New Year to you both.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll begin.
Happy New Year to all Nigerians.
Indeed. I'll begin with Muda Yusuf now. He, of course, is the DG of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Let's start with your assessment now of the outgone year 2017. In the words of President Buhari now, he said the economy has already witnessed steady growth after contracting for 5 consecutive quarters now. But how, in your words, did we fare as an economy?
Well, 2017 was challenging, particularly in the first half of the year. You know, there was the hangover of the recession, which we carried over from 2016 to the early parts of 2017. But the good news, as you said in your background report, is that we were able to exit recession in the second half of the year, which is a good thing. And ever since, I think the economy has been on a steady growth path, though marginally, but steadily. First, we had the 0.55% of growth. Then in the second quarter, we had 1.4%. So I think things are looking good from 2017. And if we look at all the key economic indicators, the foreign reserve as at the close of 2017 was close to 39 billion US dollars. And the significance of that is that it gives confidence about the stability of an economy. It gives confidence about the capacity of the economy to meet its foreign obligations. And it also ultimately gives confidence to investors. So the foreign reserves have been doing very well. The exchange rate was also stable at the close of the year, at 360 in the parallel market, and the official market at 305 or 306. So in terms of the stability of the exchange rate, I think the year also did not do badly. Then we had the liquidity issue in 2017. The worst experience was in 2016. Liquidity in the foreign exchange market, when the exchange rate was going for as high as 500 naira per dollar. But in 2017, at the close of 2017, liquidity has improved significantly in the foreign exchange market. Right. And what that meant was that access to foreign exchange became easier, especially for manufacturers and other users of foreign exchange within the economy. And this had also helped to stabilize prices. From the figures, for instance, you know that inflation had been trending downwards, though gradually, to slightly above 15%. So if you look at all the key macroeconomic indicators, the summary or the conclusion will be that 2017 ended in a fairly good note, especially from the point of view of the fundamentals of the macro economy.
All
Although
right.
there are
That
issues
said,
with the sectors and all of that, which we can discuss going forward.
all right, many thanks now for that for those initial remarks. But then let's bring in Mr. Audu now. Of course, the key indicators speak well. Foreign reserves recording a peak and inflation, at a steady downfall now. Hopefully to continue in that trend. But then it may have ended well. But then talking about the prices in the market, what it means for the ordinary Nigerians now to begin to feel indeed all this effects now. It didn't appear to have any major impact on the average Nigerian. How do you react?
Well, thank you very much. It's good that we ended well in 2017, but we can do better, and a lot of effort has to be put in place to maintain further growth. And when I say maintain further growth, I'm talking about we now have excess crude oil money coming in because the price of oil is way above the benchmark right now at 42.5. Is way above, is more than the benchmark that was set for the 2017 budget. So what I implore the government to do, if they want to sustain this growth, is to continue to use this excess money to save it. It should not be spent and given to state governors or, on autonomous expenditures. Like I heard about the 1 billion naira arms deal. We should not engage in any expenditure yet. Rather, this should be maintained to cushion the effect of future shocks that could happen in the oil industry. Now, if there's a price glut again, we might dive into recession. So this excess money we're saving should increase the foreign reserve, which is what is currently happening, and there should be put in the excess crude oil account. With those, that will really help to cushion the economy against any other shocks that might arise. Also, we should look at diversification. Over-reliance of oil is what got us into recession because there was a change in oil prices. Let's look at solid minerals, agriculture. And when I'm saying looking at that, I want us to focus on that more seriously. We should not just allocate, like in the last budget, just about 100 billion was allocated to agriculture. It is not enough. We're doing too little to an industry that can sustain us for a very long time, and we can earn foreign exchange. Let's look at solid minerals. Let's look at manufacturing. Let's look at the railway system. So a lot needs to be invested in this area. Instead of, spending the money doing other things that are not so important, we should focus on the real sectors, the major sectors of the economy, so they can be an alternative to oil. That will create the long-term growth that we're looking for.
Let's also talk about, Aliu, the dismal unemployment rate, what it's saying now, how the government hasn't really, intervened enough, at least from the records now. We see an 18.8% now record for the third quarter of last year, which was even worse than the 16.2% recorded in the second quarter. What are you thinking in this regard?
Yeah, the unemployment rate in Nigeria is very high, and a lot more can be done. Let's look at the importation of rice. Nigeria is the second largest importer of rice in the world. We are second to the European Union. Now, what does this tell us? This tells us that all the jobs, all the industries are now going abroad. All this money we're creating jobs for other companies abroad. We're creating profit for other industries abroad. Now, what the government should focus on is placing an absolute ban on rice, because our local industries are already doing well. We should stop importing rice. When we have our local industries doing well, if we encourage them with incentives, then this will bring back the jobs into these local industries, because they will begin to expand because the demand for their goods and services has increased. So these are the policies the government should focus on. Policies that will grow the infant industries, the local industries, and over-reliance on importation. Remember, we have an importation bill of over 8 trillion. Now, this is what we're talking about. All these problems are interrelated. Reliance on importation. If we come back on importation, on food, agricultural importation, we are sourcing our local materials locally, milk, wheat, fish, sugar, egg, what have you. This will create jobs.
All right.
So there's a need for us to concentrate on the local content. Let's look at manufacturing, let's look at solid mineral.
All right,
all these areas are major areas of the economy the government needs to focus on, if we have to be honest with ourselves.
Aliu Audu, we'd like to thank you very much at this point now for that much which you have, outlined on what the government, can do to indeed revamp the economy. Aliu Audu, economist from Abuja, many thanks.
Thank you.
All right, let me get now the submissions now of Mr. Muda Yusuf now. I'm sure you listened now to the earlier submission. Perhaps now we can, get a drastic reduction of the dismal unemployment rate as it stands now. Perhaps if we pay more attention to the agricultural sector, we didn't see the non-oil sector doing as much as it should have done, recording an underperformance, even including the agricultural sector, despite the revolution that took place in 2017.
Yes, when we talk about jobs, it is investment that leads to job creation. So we need to create the environment for investment growth. We should be looking at domestic investment. We should be looking at foreign investment, particularly foreign direct investment. So what is critical at this time is for us to look at our entire gamut of policies, starting from our monetary policy, our interest rate policy, our tax policy, our trade policy, our investment policy, and the rest of it. How these policies can put more investment on the table. That is very critical. Then we need to look at what we call the investment environment, the investment climate. Because right now, one of the challenges of the non-oil export sector is productivity and efficiency. And the huge infrastructure deficit is a major factor in the productivity and the weak efficiency that we have in our system among virtually all enterprises. That is why many enterprises are not very competitive. That is why the cost of production and the cost of operations are very high. We're also grappling with high cost of funds, ranging from 25 to 35%, which also contributes to high operating costs and high production costs. So if we really want to create jobs, we need to see what we can do to stimulate more investment at the domestic front and also on the international front. These are the critical steps that we need to take to make sure that the benefits of this growth actually is enjoyed by, or is felt by the majority of Nigerians in terms of enhanced welfare and in terms of more jobs to be created.
All right, Muda Yusuf, we'll rest this conversation now on that note with which you just landed. Many thanks for your analysis. We indeed hope and look forward to a really prosperous 2018. Many thanks, Mr. Yusuf.
Thank you very much.
All right, we cross over now to the stock market now for highlights of trading for the day, the first to be recorded, or the first in the new year. Effiong Ekob is live for us now. Hello, Effiong. So tell us about, how stocks, came about today. How did stocks do today?
Hello, Kemi. It is the first trading day year 2018 on the stock market of Nigeria. Now, the all-share index responded positively, closing 0.06%. But the margin was not that big. But it's something to start the year, on a positive note. I have here a stockbroker who was on the floor, a dealer with Foresight Securities Limited. I'm talking about Charles Fagroka. Charles, Happy New Year.
Thank you.
You traded very well and it ended positively. How do you feel starting that way?
Yes, it's a good feeling starting the first trading day for the year 2018 and the market closing in the northward direction positively.
I noticed that at mid-trade, about 1 o'clock, the market dipped more than 1% and it reversed easily. What happened?
Yes, it goes to tell you that trading has started and traders are ready for the business of trading for the year. People are positioning themselves. So what you saw was a little bit of frequent buying and selling, and we had top price cap companies dropping as at that moment while trading was going on. But like you have seen, towards the ending, we saw a reversal. So those high cap companies had to gain, and that's why we are seeing the index closing in the positive territory today.
Okay, let's go back to transactions in 2017. It turned out to be a very good year for the market. I mean, when measured in terms of what we had been seeing in the last 3 years, the market was able to record growth of about 40%.
Yeah.
You know, let's see the supporting factors that brought the market to that level, even to a point that the CNN had to, put a window on the Nigerian market.
Yes, so many factors contributed to the return we saw in the market for last year. But most importantly, I must say the regulators did a very good job in terms of sanitizing the market, in terms of putting mechanism in place to ensure transparency, particularly the stock exchange. They did a lot in terms of showing that when you are trading, the market is fair, is efficient, and is transparent to all concerned. So that contributed a lot to the growth of the market for last year.
Okay, the year-to-date growth of the market at about 40%. That means that investors have really, gotten a lot of, benefit from their investment. And let's talk about those who did not enter the market. So what chances do they have now to enter the market, with this type of presentation?
Yes, of course, it goes to show that investment in the capital market is one of the long-term investment an investor can benefit from very well. If you compare to other outlets of other windows of investment, it has been shown and it has been proven that for every 5 years, an investment in the stock market gives more return compared to other investment. It's not too late. Investors who are coming fresh to the market, the advice I'll give to them is they need to understand the markets. They need to get a stockbroker. They need to understand their risk profile, of course, through the help of their stockbroker, and now define an investment philosophy or objective. Then from there, the stockbroker can take it on and begin to advise them on which area of the market to invest for them to have the maximum returns they are expected to have for this new year.
Here in the market, we have so many sectors to play in, and we found out that it was the banking subsector that actually led all of the sectors. So why that?
Yeah, you must also recall that from a very long time ago, we discovered that the banking sector, if I had more of the banks being quoted in the stock market, and the banks are visible. Let me use that word, they are visible. And the returns we have seen from them has been more rewarding compared to other sectors. That not to say that other sectors are not doing very well. Yeah. It also still depends on the investor's objective. Okay. You might like to invest in the banking sector, you might like to invest in oil and gas sector, you might like to invest in the consumer goods sector. All I would say is all the sectors have potential to give investors the return in which they desire in the stock market. The only thing they need to do is to get in touch with their stockbroker.
Still staying with the banks, let's talk about a few of those top performers. For instance, let me talk about GT Bank, Zenith, Fidelity, and perhaps EcoBank. Let's talk. Let's talk about. Let's start with GT Bank. Okay. The performance of that bank last year.
Yes, GT has a pedigree. We've known them for quite some time, and in terms not only in terms of their operations, but in terms of corporate governance. It is a bank that has shown leadership in that sector. And year in, year out, we have seen that they have been able to satisfy their investors. And of course, once investors are satisfied, they will come for more and more and more. So GT has shown that in terms of return on their investment. So investors are smiling for what GT has done to them and expect more from GTB. So I see more and more investors taking position to see how they can benefit from what GT Bank will want to give to their investors as some of returns in the new year.
Let's turn to EcoBank.
EcoBank, we already know it's a Pan-African bank. They're also doing quite well. But you see, the issue there is they've not been too visible. They've not been too visible in the market. But I'm assuring you, with this new year, the bank is also looking at what they will do to ensure that investors will continue to benefit, having taken position in their bank.
Fidelity Bank.
Yeah, Fidelity Bank.
It was constant on the trading board.
Yes, what actually contributed to that, you see, it's a bank that is entrepreneurially friendly. Fidelity Bank has so many programs for entrepreneurs. And you know, the Nigerian economy, we need fresh and young entrepreneurs. The bank has done a lot in terms of supporting those entrepreneurs. And that's why we are seeing the numbers we are seeing today in the stock market. I will just advise the management to continue to do what they are doing, and investors will continue to benefit from them.
Okay, Charles, I think we don't have much time, so we leave it here. As we are starting trade for this year, we look forward to doing greater things, and you will be coming here regularly to tell us where and what that we need to do and carry investors to the high level. And then we believe that this market, is skybound. Charles
CBC, I'll be at your service.
Thank you very much.
Happy New Year, investors.
Thank you, Charles. We are grateful. And Charles Fandroka is a dealer with Foresight Securities. He's been my guest on this first trading day 2018. Back to you in the studio.
All right, fantastic. Now, Effiong Ekop there. Now, of course, with a review of the year 2017 and, of course, highlights of the day, of course, to mark the beginning of the year, so to speak. It's suffice to say at this point also that the Nigeria Stock Exchange indeed did well, with the record saying its highest performance in 2017 after about 4 years now. So, of course, the sky appears to be the limit. Here's to more favorables now from the stock exchange here in Nigeria. We'll close with a look at the crude oil prices. As it stands right now, it maintains stability at the global market this Tuesday, boosted by anti-government protests in Iran and ongoing supply cuts by major producers. At the London market, the Brent crude trades at $66 per barrel, while the OPEC basket Brent steadies at $62. That's Business Nigeria for today. Please join us again tomorrow for another edition. I am Kemi Fola Adeyemo. The World Now with Azizat Olaoluwa is next. Bye for now.